The corridor on the fourth floor of the Lowry Hotel smelled of polished wood and faint chlorine from the spa downstairs. It was 22:47, the night before the FA Cup final, and the only sound was the low mechanical hum of the ice machine near the lifts. Room 412. Jamie Harlan sat on the edge of the king-size bed, suit jacket already hanging on the wardrobe door, top button undone. His tie lay across the pillow like a discarded ribbon. The squad group chat was still pinging, stupid memes, someone sending a picture of the trophy they'd seen in the stadium earlier, another lad asking who wanted room service burgers at midnight. Normal final eve noise. Jamie's personal phone, the black one with no club logo, the one only his mum, his agent, and his little brother had, buzzed once against the wooden bedside table. He glanced at it without much interest. Then he read the message. His face stayed completely still. The same blank mask he wore when a striker was bearing down on him in the box. But his left hand, the hand that had blocked shots from Holland and Salah for years, began to tremble. The phone slipped from his fingers and landed face down on the thick carpet with a soft thud. For 10 full seconds he didn't move. Then he stood up, walked to the wardrobe, pulled on the plain gray hoodie he kept for travel days, zipped it right to the throat. No bag, no wallet even. He checked the spy hole, opened the door a crack, listened. Nothing. He stepped out, let the door click shut behind him, and headed straight for the service lift at the far end of the corridor. The one the cleaners and laundry staff used. The one without cameras in the actual car itself. 22:51. The lift doors closed. Jamie pressed basement. The fluorescent strip above him flickered once, twice, then steadied. In the brushed steel reflection he saw his own eyes, wide, pupils blown, like a man who'd just been told his house was on fire. Down in the basement corridor the air was colder, smelled of damp concrete and detergent. He pushed through the fire exit door that bypassed the main lobby. The night porter, an old scouser called Tommy who'd seen everything in 20 years at the Lowry, was smoking by the bins. He caught a glimpse of the hoodie, the familiar broad shoulders, the way the man moved like he was trying not to be seen. Tommy opened his mouth to say something, then thought better of it. Jamie Harlan, captain, leader, the man who had lifted the Carabao Cup with this club 18 months earlier, disappeared into the Manchester night at 02:17 exactly. No one inside the hotel would admit they'd seen him leave. By 07:15 the next morning, the story inside the squad was already being massaged. Jamie's got a stomach bug, the press officer told the journalists gathered in the makeshift media room downstairs. Nothing serious, but he's been up all night. Manager's given him the morning off to rest. He'll be assessed closer to kickoff. The players weren't stupid. They'd seen the empty seat at breakfast. They'd noticed how the coaching staff kept glancing at their phones every 30 seconds. In the dressing room during the light captain's run, someone asked quietly where the armband was going. The assistant manager just muttered, "We'll sort it later, lads. Focus on your jobs." But in the tunnel under the hotel, 2 members of the security team were already reviewing the limited footage they had. The service lift, the basement corridor, a single blurry frame of a gray hoodie disappearing through the fire exit. Nothing after that. No taxi, no Uber ping, no cash withdrawal. His club phone was still in the room, switched off. His passport was still in the safe. Jamie Harlan had vanished like smoke. And the final was less than 4 hours away. Inside the empty room 412, the black phone still lay on the carpet where he'd dropped it. The screen had gone dark, but if you pressed the home button, the message was still there. 7 words that had turned the strongest defender in the league into a ghost. They know about your brother. Come alone. The Lowry's breakfast room at 0730 was quieter than it should have been for a cup final morning. Cutlery clinked against plates, but the usual banter was missing. Lads were scrolling on their phones, stealing glances at the empty chair at the top of the long table where Jamie Harlan always sat. Coffee black, 2 boiled eggs, no toast, same ritual for 6 years. Today, the chair had been quietly removed. Manager David Kershaw stood at the front in his club tracksuit, arms folded, voice low and steady like he was reading from a script he'd rehearsed in the shower. Jamie's under the weather. Stomach. He's resting upstairs. Doctor's with him now. We're not making a big thing of it. Media have been told the same. You lot focus on the game. We've trained for this. We've prepared for this. One man doesn't change the plan. A few nods. A couple of the younger lads exchanged looks, but said nothing. The vice captain, midfielder Ryan Walsh, picked at his scrambled eggs and kept his mouth shut. He'd been the one who knocked on Jamie's door at 6:50 and found it unanswered. He'd felt the silence on the other side like a punch. Outside, on the hotel steps, the press pack was already buzzing. Sky, BBC, TalkSport, all of them smelling blood. "Any update on Harlan?" one shouted as the team buses started loading. The press officer, a slick 29-year-old called Chloe, who'd once worked at Anfield, smiled the same professional smile she used when players got sent off. "Minor illness, as stated. He remains with the squad and will give a further update nearer kickoff." Inside the bus, the atmosphere was thick. Someone had put the usual pre-match playlist on low, old-school garage, nothing too heavy. But every time the bus hit a pothole, the lads jolted and looked around, half expecting Jamie to walk down the aisle, cracking a joke about their hangovers. He never came. At the stadium, the Etihad was already filling. Blue and white scarves everywhere, the roar building even though it was still 3 hours to kick off. In the home dressing room, the kit man had laid out Jamie's shirt anyway. Number 5, captain's armband placed neatly on top like a challenge. No one touched it. Meanwhile, 3 miles away in a nondescript Premier Inn on the edge of Salford, Jamie Harlan sat on the edge of a hard single bed that smelled of stale cigarettes. He hadn't slept. His eyes were bloodshot, hoodie still zipped to the throat even though the room was stuffy. The black phone was in his hand again. He'd switched it back on at 0512. Another message had arrived at 0458. "Service station, Junction 15, 0830. Come alone or the videos drop at 09 o'clock. No signature, no number showing, just those words. Jamie rubbed his face with both hands, the stubble rough against his palms. His little brother, 19-year-old academy prospect Lucas Harlan, had been at the club since he was 12. Same blood, same surname, same defensive instincts. Everyone said Lucas was going to be better than Jamie one day. Faster, calmer, more composed on the ball. Until 6 weeks ago, when the first anonymous text had landed on Lucas's phone. A 30-second clip of the kid in a hotel room with a girl who definitely wasn't his girlfriend. The girl was laughing. Lucas looked drunk, out of it. The angle made it look worse than it probably was. Then came the demands. Small at first, a couple of grand here, access to the first team WhatsApp there. Lucas had paid. He deleted messages. He'd lied to Jamie when asked why he looked so pale in training. Last night's message had been the final demand. Throw the final or we send everything to every journalist, every fan account, every betting syndicate. Your brother's career ends before it starts, and yours with it. Jamie stood up, walked to the tiny bathroom, splashed cold water on his face until his skin burned. In the mirror, he barely recognized the man staring back. The same man who'd led the team out at Wembley twice, who'd taken bullets for this club in the press, who'd once told a young Lucas that loyalty above everything else was what made you a pro. Now that loyalty felt like a blade pressed against his own throat. He pulled the hoodie lower, slipped on cheap sunglasses he'd bought from a garage at 0300, and left the Premier Inn through the side door. His club phone was still dead in the Lowry. His kit was hanging in the Etihad dressing room. The final was at 1500, and Jamie Harlan was driving the wrong way. Back at the stadium, the warm-up had started without him. The crowd was singing his name anyway. Harlan! Harlan! The chant rolling around the stands like a wave that didn't know the tide had already turned. In the tunnel, manager Kershaw pulled Ryan Walsh aside. "You're captaining today, son. Whatever happens." Ryan nodded, but his eyes flicked toward the empty peg where Jamie's shirt still hung. None of them knew it yet, but the real storm wasn't the final. It was the phone call Jamie was about to make from a lay-by on the M60, voice low, hands shaking, asking the one question that would tear the entire club apart. Who the hell is doing this to my brother? The lay-by on the M60 smelled of diesel and wet grass. It was 8:12, rain starting to spit against the windscreen of the battered Toyota Jamie had paid cash for from a bloke behind the Premier Inn. He sat with the engine off, black phone pressed hard to his ear. The line rang 4 times before Lucas picked up. "Jamie?" The kid's voice was thin, cracked, like he'd been crying or shouting or both. "You got the message?" "Yeah." Jamie kept his tone flat, the same voice he used in the dressing room when someone had given away a stupid goal. "Tell me everything, from the start. No bullshit." There was a long pause. In the background, Jamie could hear traffic, the faint beep of a zebra crossing. Lucas was somewhere public, trying to sound normal. 6 weeks ago, Lucas started, words tumbling out fast. After the under-23s game against Spurs, we went out in town, just a few of us. I had a couple of drinks, nothing mad. This girl, she was there. Said she was a fan, bought me shots. Next thing I remember is waking up in a hotel room with her. Phone was blowing up with a video. 30 seconds. Me and her. Looks proper dodgy, Jamie. Like I forced it. I didn't. Swear on Mom I didn't. Jamie closed his eyes. The rain was getting heavier now, drumming on the roof. They wanted money first. $2,000. I paid from my academy wage. Then they wanted the group chat screenshots, first team tactics, injury updates, who was arguing with the gaffer. I gave them some. Then it got worse. Last week they sent another clip, edited, made it look like I was taking pills. Said if I didn't sort the final, they'd leak the lot. Every tabloid, every betting site, every academy parent. My career's finished before I've even played a first-team minute. Jamie's grip tightened on the phone until the plastic creaked. Who sent the first message? Unknown number. Always. They know things, Jamie. Things only people inside the club know. Training ground gossip. Who's banging who? Who's skint? It's someone who's been in our dressing room. A lorry thundered past, shaking the little Toyota. Jamie waited until the roar died. Stay at the academy digs. Don't answer anyone. Don't go on your phone. I'm sorting it. Jamie, the final. Forget the final. He hung up. The memory hit him then, sharp as a stud to the ankle. 4 years ago, Lucas had just turned 15. Jamie had taken him to the first-team Christmas party at the training ground. The kid had stood in the corner, wide-eyed, watching his big brother laugh with senior pros. One of the older defenders, a lad called Marcus Vale, 32 at the time, club captain before Jamie took the armband, had ruffled Lucas's hair and said, "Stick with your brother, kid. This place looks after its own." Marcus Vale. The same Marcus who now sat on the bench most weeks, bitter about losing the captaincy, always the first to stir dressing room whispers. The same Marcus whose locker was 2 down from Jamie's. The same Marcus who'd been texting Lucas advice for the last few months, helping the young lads settle. Jamie stared at the rain streaking down the windscreen. It couldn't be. But the timing fit. The access fit. The resentment fit. He started the engine. 8:47. He still had time to reach the service station at Junction 15 before the deadline. Back at the Etihad, the players were in the dressing room, shirts on, music low. The kit man had finally moved Jamie's number 5 into the laundry skip. No one commented. Ryan Walsh was tying his captain's armband for the first time, fingers clumsy. Manager Kershaw paced in front of the tactics board, voice raised now. "We play our game, Harlan or no Harlan. This club doesn't stop for one man." But in the corner, Physio Dave, the quiet one who'd seen every injury and every secret for 15 years, was staring at his own phone with a face like stone. He just received a screenshot from an unknown number. Lucas Harlan, in that hotel room, time-stamped, the edited version already circulating on a private Telegram group used by half the academy staff. Dave deleted it immediately, but the seed was planted. Jamie, meanwhile, pulled into the service station at 0829. He killed the engine, scanned the car park. A single black transit van with tinted windows sat near the lorries. No number plate visible from this angle. He got out, hoodie up, rain soaking his shoulders in seconds. Walked straight toward the van. The side door slid open before he reached it. Inside, sitting on a fold-down seat, was Marcus Vale. Not in kit, not in club gear, just jeans and a club hoodie, same as Jamie. His face was calm, almost friendly. "Captain," Marcus said, voice soft. "You came alone." "Good lad." Jamie stopped 2 meters short, rain dripping from his hood. "Delete it. All of it. Right now." Marcus smiled, the same half-smile he used when he'd wind up opposition players. "Can't do that, mate. Not yet. Sit down. We've got 10 minutes before I send the package." Jamie didn't sit. "Why my brother?" "Because you took the armband off me. Because this club forgot what loyalty means when they handed it to a younger man. Because your brother was the easiest way to make you feel it." Marcus leaned forward. "Throw the final. 1 own goal, 1 red card, 1 stupid mistake in the first half. We lose, the videos disappear forever. Simple." Jamie's fists clenched at his sides. The rain was louder now, hammering the roof of the van. "You're finished, Marcus." "No," Marcus replied, holding up his phone, thumb hovering over send. "You are, unless you do exactly what I say." At that exact moment, back in the Etihad tunnel, the referee's assistant was calling the teams out for the final warm-up. The roar of 85,000 fans rolled down the concrete like thunder, and Jamie Harlan stood in a rainy service station car park, staring at the man who used to be his teammate, realizing the dressing room he'd bled for had been rotten from the inside all along. He had 45 minutes until kickoff, and the hardest decision of his life was already made. The service station toilet smelled of cheap pine disinfectant and wet concrete. 8:51. Jamie stood at the urinal, pretending to piss while his mind raced. Marcus was still in the van, phone in hand, thumb ready. The rain had turned into a proper Manchester downpour, hammering the roof like boots on the tunnel floor. Jamie zipped up, washed his hands slowly, watching the water swirl down the drain. He didn't have a plan. Not yet. But he knew one thing. He wasn't throwing the final. Not for Marcus. Not for anyone. He walked back out into the car park, hoodie soaked through now, water running down his neck. Marcus had the van door open, engine idling. "Time's ticking, Captain," Marcus called, voice almost cheerful. "Kickoff's at 3. You need to be back in that dressing room looking like shit, telling them the stomach bug is worse than they thought. Then you go out there and do what needs doing." Jamie stopped a meter away, rain dripping from his eyelashes. "Delete the files first. All of them. Then we talk." Marcus laughed once, short and dry. "Nah, you first. Prove you're serious." Jamie stared at him. The man he'd shared hotel rooms with on Champions League nights. The man who'd once carried him off the pitch in Brussels when his hamstring went. The same man now holding a knife to his little brother's throat. "Give me 5 minutes," Jamie said. "I need to call Lucas, make sure he's safe. Then I'll do it." Marcus narrowed his eyes, but nodded. 5 minutes. Not a second more. And don't even think about calling the coppers. "We've got people watching." Jamie turned and walked toward the little grassy bank at the edge of the services, phone already to his ear. He didn't call Lucas. He called the only other person he trusted with his life, his mum. She picked up on the second ring. "Jamie? Love, what's wrong? You sound..." "Mom, listen, no questions. Go to the academy right now, get Lucas, take him to yours, don't let him out of your sight. Tell no one. I'll explain later." There was a pause. His mom had been a nurse for 30 years. She knew when to move first and ask later. "I'm on my way." Jamie hung up. He stood there in the rain, breathing hard. Then he did something he'd never done in his career. He opened the notes app on his black phone and started typing. Everything. The messages, the van, Marcus's face, the demands. He saved it as a draft, then forwarded it to Ryan Walsh with one line. "If I'm not back by 1400, read this and show the gaffer. Trust no one else." He hit send, then deleted the sent message from his own phone. 8:57. He walked back to the van. Marcus was drumming his fingers on the steering wheel. "Done?" "Yeah," Jamie lied. "I'll do it.
One mistake in the first half, but you delete everything the second the final whistle goes. Swear on your kids." Marcus smiled that same half-smile.
"On my kids." He tapped his phone a few times, turned the screen toward Jamie. "See? Deleting now. All copies. Gone." Jamie watched the progress bar fill. He didn't believe it for a second, but he nodded anyway. "Get back to the stadium," Marcus said. "Tell them you were throwing up in a lay-by. They'll buy it. And remember, we're watching." Jamie turned without another word and jogged back to the Toyota. He drove out of the services at 9:04, heading toward the Etihad. But he didn't go straight there. Instead, he took the long way, circling through industrial estates, eyes on the rearview mirror the whole time. At 09:37, he pulled into a quiet retail park behind a B&Q, killed the engine, and waited. No one followed. He opened the Notes app again and kept typing, every detail he could remember. The exact words Marcus had used. The van description. The timestamps. He saved it, then sent it to himself on a new anonymous email account he'd created in the services toilet. Only then did he start driving toward the stadium. By 10:15, he was back at the Etihad, slipping in through the players' entrance with his hood still up. Security raised an eyebrow but let him through. He was still Jamie Harlan, still the captain on paper. The dressing room was half empty. Most of the lads were out in the pitch doing the final pitch inspection. Ryan Walsh was sitting alone on the bench, staring at his phone. When Jamie walked in, Ryan looked up, eyes wide. "Jesus, mate, where the hell have you been?" Jamie pulled the hoodie off, tossed it in the corner. His shirt was still hanging on the peg, number 5, pristine. "Stomach's bad," he muttered. "Had to get some air. I'm here now." Ryan stood up, stepped closer. "You look like death. The gaffer's been going mental. Press are asking questions." Jamie met his eyes. For a second, he almost told him everything. Then he remembered the draft message he'd sent. If it came to it, Ryan would know. "Just get me through the warm-up," Jamie said. "I'll be all right." But as he pulled on his training top, his hands were still shaking. Outside, the stadium was filling fast. 70,000 voices already rising. The opposition, a London side who'd finished 4th, were doing their own warm-up at the far end. Their fans were singing about how Manchester always bottled the big ones. In the tunnel, manager Kershaw spotted Jamie and marched straight over. "You're playing," he said, voice low and hard. "No arguments. We need you. Armband stays with Walsh until kickoff. Then it's yours. Sort your head out." Jamie nodded once. He walked out onto the pitch at 11:30 for the final warm-up. The roar when the crowd saw him was deafening. "Harlan! Harlan!" the chant bouncing off the stands like it always did. But inside his chest, it felt hollow. He jogged through the cones, did the stretches, headed balls back to the keeper. Every movement was automatic. His mind was somewhere else, back in that transit van, staring at Marcus Vale's calm, poisonous face. At 12:45, they were back in the dressing room. The tension was thick enough to cut. Music was off. No one was joking. Jamie sat in his usual spot, laces tied tight, shin pads in place. The number 5 shirt felt heavier than usual on his back. Ryan passed him the armband without a word. Jamie slipped it on, the fabric still warm from Ryan's arm. Manager Kershaw gave the final team talk, passionate, loud. All the usual lines about legacy and history. Jamie stared at the floor the whole time, nodding when the others nodded. But when the gaffer finished and the players started filing out toward the tunnel, Jamie hung back for 2 seconds. He caught Ryan's eye. "If anything happens out there," he said quietly, "read the message I sent you." Ryan frowned. "What message?" Jamie didn't answer. He just followed the line of players into the tunnel. The opposition were already there, lined up opposite. The referee was checking watches. The crowd noise was a physical wall now, pressing down from above. Jamie stood at the front, armband tight on his left bicep, staring straight ahead into the darkness of the tunnel. 03 clock was coming. And somewhere in the stadium, Marcus Vale was watching from the stands. Not on the bench today, rested for the final. Jamie could feel eyes on him. Not just the 85,000 fans, not just the cameras. Real eyes.
the kind that knew every secret in the dressing room. He took a slow breath, the air thick with liniment and anticipation. The referee raised his hand. Time to walk out. The tunnel was colder than usual. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting long shadows across the concrete floor. Boots scraped on the rubber matting, that familiar sound of studs catching every few steps. Jamie stood at the front of the line, number 5 heavy on his back, captain's armband digging into his left bicep like it was trying to cut circulation. Opposite him, the London side's captain was bouncing lightly on his toes, cracking his neck, eyes locked somewhere past Jamie's shoulder. The referee stood between the two lines, watch in hand, counting down the final seconds. 14:57. The roar from the pitch was already deafening, a wall of noise pressing in from both ends of the tunnel. "Harlan! Harlan!" rolled down from the stands like thunder that wouldn't stop. Jamie didn't hear it. All he could hear was the echo of Marcus Vale's voice in that rainy van. One mistake. First half, we're watching. His mouth was dry. His legs felt loose, the way they did in the worst nightmares, when you're trying to sprint but the ground won't let you. He flexed his fingers inside his gloves, once, twice. The tremor from last night was still there, buried just under the skin. The referee nodded. Both lines started moving. Jamie led his team out into the bright April sunlight. The noise hit him like a physical blow. 85,000 voices, flags, scarves, the entire stadium rising as one when they saw him. Cameras flashed from every angle. The big screen showed his face in close-up, jaw tight, eyes hidden behind the focused mask he'd worn for 1,000 big games. But inside, something was fracturing. They lined up for the anthem. Jamie placed his hand over the badge, felt the fabric of the shirt stick to the cold sweat on his chest. The music swelled. He sang the words without hearing them. His eyes scanned the stands instinctively, looking for a face he knew shouldn't be there. Marcus had said he'd be watching. Jamie couldn't see him, but he felt him. Kickoff came at 15:02. The first 10 minutes were a blur of shape and structure. Jamie dropped into his usual position, reading the game, calling the back line like he'd done since he was 22. "Tight! Squeeze! Leave nothing!" His voice sounded normal to the lads around him, strong, commanding. But every time the ball came near him, his first touch felt heavy, a half-second late, a fraction too firm. The London striker sensed it early, started dropping deeper, pulling him out of position. Minute 17, a long ball over the top. Jamie read it perfectly, stepped up, but at the last moment, his legs hesitated. The striker nipped in, got a toe to it. Jamie recovered, sliding in, but the contact was clumsy. Yellow card. The crowd groaned. Ryan Walsh jogged over, put a hand on his shoulder. "You good, skipper?" Jamie nodded once, didn't speak. Inside his head, the voice was louder now. "Throw it. One mistake. Make it look real." He pushed it down. Halftime came at 15:45 with the score 0-0. The dressing room was tense, but not broken. Manager Kershaw paced, voice rising on the tactical points. Jamie sat in the corner, elbows on knees, staring at the floor between his boots. The lino was scuffed from years of the same ritual. Someone passed him a bottle of water. He drank without tasting it. His phone, the club one, had been left in the locker, but the black one was still in his kit bag, switched off. He could feel it there like a live wire. Kershaw finished. The player stood to go back out. Jamie caught Ryan's eye again. Ryan gave a small nod. He'd read the message. He didn't know the full story yet, but he knew something was wrong. Second half. The London side came out flying. Minute 52, a corner swung in. Jamie rose with their big center forward, but at the point of contact he pulled back a fraction. The ball flicked off his shoulder and looped toward the far post. Their winger volleyed it first time. 1-0. The away end exploded. Jamie's end went silent for a heartbeat. Then the groans started. He stood up slowly, rain from earlier still making the pitch slick under his boots. The stadium was roaring again, but it sounded distant, underwater. Marcus's voice in his head. "We're watching." Minute 61. Another attack. The ball broke to Jamie on the edge of the box. Easy clearance. Left foot, into Rosie if he wanted. Safe. Clean. Instead, he took a touch. Hesitated. The striker closed him down. Jamie tried to turn, but his legs wouldn't commit. The tackle came in hard from behind. Studs on the back of his calf. He went down. The referee blew. Free kick the other way. No card. Just another groan from the home crowd. Jamie got up limping theatrically, buying time. The physio ran on. While the magic spray was being applied, Jamie looked up into the stands. Section 214, mid-level. He saw a figure in a dark jacket, hood up despite the roof. The man raised a hand, 2 fingers, then lowered it. Marcus. Jamie felt the fracture widen. Minute 68. The ball was played into the channel. Jamie was favorite. He let it run. Deliberately. The striker got there first, squared it across goal. Their number 10 tapped in. 2-0. The stadium turned toxic. Boos rained down. Someone near the tunnel shouted, "Sort it out, Harlan!" Jamie walked back to position with his head down. His teammates were shouting at each other now. Ryan pulled him aside near the center circle. "What the fuck is going on with you?" Jamie looked him dead in the eye. For the first time all day, his voice cracked. "Not now." The final 20 minutes were agony. Jamie played like a man underwater. Every pass a risk, every header a gamble. He didn't make the big mistake they wanted. He made smaller ones instead. Enough to look off form. Enough to look human. Enough to lose. The final whistle went at 16:57, 2-0 to the visitors. The Etihad emptied in stunned silence, punctuated by angry chants and the occasional bottle thrown onto the pitch. Jamie stood in the center circle for a long moment, hands on hips, chest heaving. The rain had started again, light but cold. In the tunnel, the atmosphere was poisonous. Players shoved past each other. The London lads were celebrating quietly, aware of the hostility. Jamie walked straight past the manager without a word, past the owner waiting in the technical area with his expensive coat and forced smile. He didn't stop for media, didn't stop for the lap of appreciation that never happened. He went straight to the dressing room, sat in front of his locker, and stared at the black phone he'd pulled from his bag. One new message, from Marcus. "Smart boy. Videos deleted. For now. See you Monday." Jamie deleted it. Then he opened the Notes app and added 3 more lines. He looked up. Ryan was watching him from across the room. The rest of the lads were stripping off in silence, the usual post-final buzz replaced by something heavier. Jamie stood up, still in his dirty kit, mud and grass stains on his knees. He walked over to Ryan, voice low enough that only the 2 of them could hear. "Meeting. My house. Tonight. 2200. Bring the gaffer if you trust him. Tell no one else." Ryan searched his face. Jamie just shook his head once. Then he grabbed his bag and left the stadium through the players' exit before anyone could stop him. The corridor outside was empty except for a single cleaner pushing a mop. The fluorescent lights flickered once as he passed. Jamie Harlan, captain of the club, the man who had never missed a final in his life, walked out into the Manchester night with the weight of the entire dressing room on his shoulders. And for the first time in his career, he wasn't sure he'd ever walk back in. The rain had eased to a fine drizzle by the time Jamie pulled into the driveway of his house in Hale at 1940. The big, detached place was dark except for the security light that clicked on as the gates swung shut behind the Toyota he still hadn't returned. He sat in the driver's seat for a full minute, engine ticking as it cooled, both hands still gripping the wheel like it was the last solid thing left in his life. Inside, the house smelled of the cleaner who came on Thursdays, lemon polish and nothing else. No music. No Lucas crashing through the door asking for food. Just silence and the low hum of the fridge. Jamie dropped his kit bag in the hallway, kicked off his trainers, and walked straight to the kitchen. He poured himself a glass of water, drank half, then poured the rest down the sink. Alcohol was the last thing he needed tonight. He checked his black phone. Nothing new from Marcus. The draft notes were still there, every detail typed out in blunt capitals. He read them once more, then locked the screen.
At 21:50, the first car arrived. Ryan Walsh, alone, in his black Range Rover. He let himself in with the spare key Jamie had given him 2 seasons ago, after a night when Ryan's missus had changed the locks in a row. Ryan didn't speak at first, just walked into the kitchen, saw Jamie leaning against the island in gray joggers and a club hoodie, and nodded once. Gaffer's 5 minutes behind. Said he had to shake off the press. Jamie didn't answer. He just opened the fridge, took out 2 bottles of water, slid one across the marble. Ryan twisted the cap but didn't drink. You look like you were playing with a ghost out there today. Talk. Jamie stared at the floor. The tiles were cold under his bare feet. Lucas. That was all he said at first. Then the whole thing came out. Low, flat, no drama in the delivery, just facts. The first message 6 weeks ago. The hotel clip. The demands. The service station. Marcus Vale in the van. The deleted files that probably weren't really deleted. The way the club had felt rotten from the moment he put the armband on. Ryan listened without interrupting, face getting tighter with every sentence. When Jamie finished, Ryan exhaled through his nose. Marcus? You sure? I sat 2 feet from him. Same voice, same eyes. He enjoyed it. The front door opened again at 22:03. Manager David Kershaw stepped in, still wearing his matchday suit, tie loosened, rain spots on the shoulders. He looked older under the kitchen lights, the lines around his eyes deeper after a defeat. He didn't bother with pleasantries. This better be worth dragging me across town the night we just lost a final. Jamie slid the black phone across the island. Read the notes. All of them. Kershaw picked it up, scrolled. His face stayed professional at first, then the jaw muscle started working. When he reached the part about Marcus in the transit van, he put the phone down slowly. Jesus Christ. For a moment, none of them spoke. The kitchen clock ticked loudly. Kershaw rubbed his forehead. You told anyone else? No? Good. Because if this gets out before we control it, the club will burn. Ryan leaned forward. Control it? Gaffer, the kid's 19. They set him up. Marcus has been inside our dressing room for years. How many others has he got to? Kershaw didn't answer straight away. He walked to the window, looked out at the dark garden. When he turned back, his voice was quieter. I knew something was off with Lucas. The academy director mentioned odd behavior a month ago. I told him to keep an eye on it. Thought it was just teenage stuff. Jamie's head snapped up. You knew? Not the videos, not the blackmail, but there were whispers about certain senior players having influence over the younger ones. I shut it down, or I thought I did. The silence that followed was heavier than the one in the tunnel after the final whistle. Jamie spoke first, voice low and dangerous. So the club knew there was rot and chose to look the other way. Kershaw met his eyes. The club protects the club, Jamie. You've been here long enough to know that. One scandal, especially involving the academy, and sponsors start asking questions. Owners start talking about value. We were 2 weeks from signing a new kit deal worth $40 million. You think they'd thank us for dragging this into the open the week before a final? Ryan stood up so fast his stool scraped. You're telling me you'd have let them destroy Lucas to save a shirt sponsor? I'm telling you, I didn't know the full picture, Kershaw snapped. Then quieter. But I should have dug deeper. Jamie pushed away from the island. He walked to the sink, gripped the edge until his knuckles went white. The fluorescent under-cabinet lights flickered once, the same cheap buzz as the service lift last night. So what happens now? He asked without turning around. Kershaw sighed. We bring Marcus in tomorrow, quietly. HR, club lawyers, the works. We get him to hand over every copy of every file. We get Lucas counseling, protection, whatever he needs. We keep it internal. No police unless we have to. The narrative stays stomach bug for you, illness for Lucas, and Marcus, personal reasons. Jamie turned slowly. His face was calm, but his eyes weren't. And if Marcus laughs in your face?
If he's already got copies somewhere safe?
If the club tries to bury Lucas the same way they buried everything else. Kershaw didn't blink. Then we manage it. That's what we do. Ryan looked between them. Skipper, you can't carry this alone anymore. Jamie stared at the manager for a long 5 seconds. Then he walked past both of them, through the hallway, and opened the front door. Cold night air rushed in. Meeting's over, he said. Tell Marcus tomorrow that if a single frame of my brother appears anywhere, I'll burn the whole fucking club down myself. And I'll start with the owner. Kershaw started to speak. Jamie cut him off. I'm not coming in tomorrow. Tell the press whatever you want. I need to see my brother. He stood there holding the door until both men left. Ryan paused on the step, put a hand on Jamie's shoulder. Whatever you need, mate. I've got your back. Jamie nodded once. Then he closed the door, locked it, and stood in the dark hallway, listening to the 2 cars drive away. At 23:17, his black phone vibrated on the kitchen island. One new message. Unknown number. Nice little meeting you had tonight. Tell the gaffer thanks for the heads up. See you Monday, Captain. The dressing room misses you already. Jamie read it twice. Then he walked upstairs into the spare room where Lucas sometimes stayed and sat on the edge of the bed. The pillow still smelled faintly of the kid's aftershave. He lay back fully clothed, stared at the ceiling, and for the first time since the phone had buzzed in room 412, he let the tremor in his left hand run free. It shook against the duvet like it belonged to someone else. Somewhere across the city, in a quiet house with the lights still on, Marcus Vale poured himself a whiskey and smiled at his own reflection in the window. The club thought it could manage this. Jamie Harlan knew better. The fracture wasn't just in him anymore. It was running right through the heart of everything they'd built. And on Monday morning, when the dressing room doors opened again, nothing was ever going to feel the same. The Monday morning air at the training ground tasted of cut grass and diesel from the maintenance fans. It was 08:42. Jamie Harlan walked through the players' entrance alone, hoodie zipped high, cap pulled low even though the sun was already breaking through. His left hand was steady now, or at least it looked that way. Inside the kit bag slung over his shoulder, the black phone sat switched off, battery pulled out. He wasn't taking any more messages. Not today. The corridor to the first team dressing room felt longer than usual. Boots echoed on the tiled floor. Someone's laugh spilled out from the canteen. Too loud, too forced. The usual pre-training buzz was there, but it had a crack in it, like a record with a scratch. Jamie pushed the dressing room door open. The smell hit him first. Fresh tape, liniment, the faint metallic tang of new boots being broken in. Then the silence. 20-odd players turned almost as one. Ryan Walsh was tying his laces in the corner. His head came up fast. Marcus Vale sat 2 pegs down from where he always had, legs stretched out, scrolling on his phone like nothing had happened. He didn't look up, but the corner of his mouth twitched. Jamie walked straight to his locker without a word. Number 5 shirt already hanging, freshly laundered. Armband placed neatly on top. He ignored it, pulled out his training gear, started changing. The manager's voice came from the doorway. Lads, meeting room, 2 minutes. No one moved for a second. Then chairs scraped, boots clattered. Jamie finished tying his laces and followed last. The meeting room smelled of coffee and tension. Whiteboard still had remnants of Saturday's tactics scribbled in red. Kershaw stood at the front, arms folded, face carved from stone. Before we train, one thing. Marcus Vale has been released from his contract with immediate effect. Personal reasons. We wish him well. That's all that needs saying. Any questions? Keep them to yourselves. A ripple went through the room. Someone coughed. Marcus wasn't even there. His peg in the dressing room had already been cleared. Just an empty hook and a faint outline where his nameplate used to be. Jamie sat perfectly still, eyes on the table. He felt Ryan's gaze on the side of his face. Kershaw continued, voice flat. We move on. Cup final is done. Focus on the last 4 league games. Positions to fight for. Let's get out there. The meeting broke up in uneasy silence. On the training pitches, the sessions started normally enough. Boxes, possession, then shape work. But the rhythm was off. Passes went astray. Tackles were half-hearted. Every time Jamie called for the ball, the hesitation before it arrived was noticeable. The younger lads kept glancing at him like they were waiting for an explosion. At 10:17, during a water break, Ryan jogged over. "He's gone, but it doesn't feel gone," he muttered, squeezing a bottle over his head. "Half the dressing room knows something stinks."
They just don't know what.
Jamie wiped sweat from his eyes. "Let them wonder." He looked across the pitch toward the academy building in the distance. Lucas was in there somewhere, back training under protection, his mum sitting in the car park every day like a guard dog. The kid had cried on the phone last night, relief mixed with shame. Jamie had told him to keep his head down and his mouth shut. But the fracture was spreading. Minute by minute, the session deteriorated. A simple 11v11 turned ugly. 2 heavy challenges in 5 minutes, shouting. The coaching staff blowing whistles like referees trying to stop a riot. Jamie played through it all on autopilot, reading lines, winning headers, barking orders, but every time he turned his back on the group, he could feel the eyes. Not just suspicion, something closer to fear. At 11:30, the session ended early. Kershaw called the men. In the dressing room, the atmosphere was thick enough to choke on. Players stripped off in near silence. Jamie sat on the bench, elbows on knees, staring at the floor. The fluorescent lights overhead flickered once, the same cheap buzz he'd heard in the service lift. Then Marcus's replacement, a young coach who'd been promoted overnight, cleared his throat. "Gaffa wants a word with the senior boys. Stay behind." The younger lads filed out. When the door closed, only 8 of them remained. Jamie, Ryan, 3 other senior pros, the physio, the captain of the academy team who'd been pulled up for the day. Kershaw walked in last, closed the door softly. "Sit." They sat. "I'm not here to dress this up," Kershaw said. "What happened with Marcus stays in this room. The club has handled it internally. Lucas Harlan is receiving full support. Jamie has the club's backing. End of discussion." One of the senior strikers, a lad called Tommy, who'd been at the club 10 years, leaned forward. "With respect, Gaffer, we lost a final because our captain looked like he was playing with a gun to his head. Now Marcus is gone overnight. People talk. If there's something we need to know..." Jamie cut in, voice low and even. "There isn't." The room went still. Ryan shifted. "Skipper's right. We move on." But the senior boys weren't stupid. They could smell the lie. One of them, the experienced fullback who roomed with Marcus on away days, stared at Jamie for a long second, then looked away. The meeting broke up with muttered agreements and uneasy nods. Jamie stayed seated until the room emptied. Only Ryan remained. "You're not sleeping, are you?" Ryan asked quietly. Jamie shook his head once. "Lucas is safe. Marcus is gone. The files are supposed to be gone. But I keep waiting for the next message, the next demand, the next face in the stands." Ryan exhaled. "You saved your brother. You didn't throw the game. That's something." Jamie stood up slowly, pulled his training top over his head. The number 5 felt heavier than ever. "I saved him by breaking something inside this place. And now every time I walk into this dressing room, I wonder who else knew. Who else looked the other way? Who else is still here, waiting?" He slung his bag over his shoulder. "I'm not the same player anymore, Rye. I'm not even sure I'm the same man." Ryan didn't try to argue. He just nodded. Jamie walked out alone. In the car park, his mum's car was still there. Lucas sat in the passenger seat, hood up, staring at his hands. Jamie tapped the window. The kid looked up, eyes red but dry now. Jamie opened the door, crouched down. "You all right?" Lucas nodded. "They said I can train with the under-23s again next week. Full sessions." "Good." Jamie squeezed his shoulder once. "Keep your head straight. Mum's taking you home. I'll come by tonight." He closed the door, watched the car pull away. Then he got into his own car, started the engine, but didn't drive. He sat there with the radio off, staring at the training ground building through the windscreen. The place where he'd become a captain.
The place where he'd once believed the dressing room was sacred. Now it felt like a house with rotten foundations, still standing, but one more storm away from collapse. His left hand rested on the steering wheel. It was steady. But inside his chest, the fracture kept spreading, quiet and unstoppable, like a hairline crack in a bone that would never quite heal. He put the car in gear and pulled out of the car park. Behind him, in the empty senior dressing room, the fluorescent light above Marcus Vale's old peg flickered once, twice, then steadied. The club would carry on. The games would be played. But Jamie Harlan knew the truth now. Some things you can't tackle. Some things you can't block. Some things get inside the dressing room and stay there forever. The floodlights at the training ground had been switched off for the night, but one security lamp still burned above the players' entrance, throwing a sickly yellow pool across the wet tarmac. It was 22:47 exactly, 7 days to the minute since that black phone had buzzed in room 412 at the Lowry. Jamie Harlan sat alone on the concrete steps outside the first-team dressing room, kit bag between his feet, hoodie zipped to the throat. The April air had turned cold again, carrying the faint smell of cut grass and liniment that never quite left the place. His breath fogged in front of him. He hadn't gone home after the evening recovery session, hadn't answered Ryan's text asking if he wanted food, hadn't even looked at the group chat where the lads were already joking about next weekend's derby like nothing had happened. Instead, he had walked every corridor of the training ground in the dark, the gym, the canteen, the academy wing, the tunnel that led to the indoor pitches, touching door handles, listening to the echo of his own boots, trying to find the exact spot where the trust had died. He couldn't find it. Because it wasn't in one place, it was everywhere. In the empty peg where Marcus used to hang his coat, in the way the younger lads now dropped their eyes when he walked past, in the careful, too polite way the coaching staff spoke to him, like he was made of cracked glass. In the knowledge that the owner had sent a private message through the chief executive, glad it's been handled discreetly. Club first. Club first. Jamie laughed once, a short, bitter sound that disappeared into the night. He pulled the black phone from his pocket, battery back in now, and opened the notes app for the last time. He read every line he'd written over the past week, every timestamp, every threat, every half-truth the club had fed the press. Then he deleted the entire note. Not because he wanted to forget, because he finally understood there was no fixing it. The club had chosen. The dressing room had chosen. Even some of the lads who didn't know the full story had chosen silence over questions. Loyalty, the thing he had preached to Lucas since the kid was 12, had turned out to be just another word for self-preservation. Jamie stood up slowly. His knees ached from the extra gym work he'd done alone after everyone left. He slung the bag over his shoulder and started walking toward the car park. Halfway there, he stopped. A single car was still parked under the security light, the manager's black Mercedes. Kershaw was leaning against the bonnet, arms folded, collar turned up against the cold. He looked like he'd been waiting. Jamie kept walking until he was 3 meters away. Neither man spoke for a long moment. Then Kershaw broke the silence. "You missed the medical this afternoon. Physio said you told him you were fine." "I am fine." Kershaw nodded once, slowly. "The owner wants you in his box for the derby. Show of unity. Photo op. You know the drill." Jamie looked at him. Really looked. The man who had shaken his hand the day he signed the captain's contract. The man who had once told him in a hotel bar in Madrid that the armband meant carrying the club on your back even when it was breaking you. "I'm not doing photos anymore," Jamie said quietly. Kershaw's jaw tightened. "Jamie, I'll play, I'll train, I'll do my job on the pitch, but the rest of it, the interviews, the captain's dinners, the smiling for the cameras, that's finished. You want a captain who believes in this place? Find someone else." The manager exhaled through his nose, breath clouding. "You walk away from the armband now, and the narrative writes itself." Broken by the final, lost his edge. They'll say Lucas was just an excuse. Jamie smiled, small and tired. Let them say what they want. I've spent 15 years making sure the club looks strong. Tonight I'm choosing what's left of me. He started walking again, past the Mercedes, keys already in his hand. Kershaw called after him, voice low but urgent. "Jamie, the club still needs you." Jamie stopped at his car door. He didn't turn around. "No," he said. "The club needs the idea of me. The captain who never missed a game. The leader who put the badge first. That man died last Saturday in a service station car park. You're left with what's still breathing." He opened the door, threw the bag onto the passenger seat. Before he got in, he looked back once toward the dark silhouette of the training ground building. The security lamp flickered once, twice, then held. Jamie slid behind the wheel, started the engine, and reversed out without another word. As he drove through the gates and onto the quiet road, the rearview mirror caught the lights of the complex shrinking behind him. He didn't speed up, didn't turn the radio on, just drove with both hands on the wheel, left one finally steady. At the first roundabout, he took the exit toward his mom's house instead of his own. Lucas would still be awake, probably playing FIFA with headphones on, trying to pretend the last week hadn't happened. Jamie would sit with him, say nothing about football, maybe order pizza like they used to when the kid was 14. Tomorrow he would turn up for training again. He would put the number 5 on his back. He would lead the line out in the tunnel because that was still his job. But something inside him had quietly, permanently changed. The roar of 85,000 voices would still lift the hairs on his arms. The weight of the armband would still press against his skin. But the belief, the blind, fierce faith that the dressing room was family, that the club would always protect its own, that was gone. Replaced by something colder, clearer. A man who now knew exactly how deep the shadows ran between the fluorescent lights and the tunnel floor. Jamie Harlan kept driving into the Manchester night, the city lights smearing across the windscreen like rain that would never quite wash clean. Behind him, in the empty dressing room, the fluorescent tube above the old captain's peg gave one final flicker and went dark. The club would survive. The games would go on. But the boy who had once believed in it with everything he had, he was never coming back.